Hi, I'm Anthony Guardia. I'm the Chief Development Officer at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Stoneham and Wakefield, and what has become a relatively new tradition with our friends at WCAT. We are here to introduce a new and exciting staff member to really take on some of our most exciting and dynamic programming. And I'm joined now by our Chief Operating Officer, John Brinkman.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. And then, Brandi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Brandi Artez, and I'm the new Director of Social Impact Programming.
Now, sounds good. Now, the kids call it DSIP, right?
A kid calls it DSIP.
One child.
I like DSIP. So, but I will tell you, I am very, very excited about this program, this position, excuse me. And the reason is, Brandi, no pressure, but you are going to be directing some of our most exciting programs. So I'm going to turn it over to John real quick. John, do you mind telling everybody how this position came about, what Brandi is going to be doing, and then we'll turn it over to Brandi. Talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Very quickly, I think throughout the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, our club has had such a unique opportunity to impact not only the families that we see within our walls, but the communities at large outside of them. Whether it's mental health awareness, which I know that we're going to talk about in a little bit, our nutritional assistance programs, our involvement with different grants and collaborations in the community. We have so many opportunities that we said we need to bring in someone who can bring all these things together. And we went on a search to find someone that could really help further the mission of the club and the impact that we have on the communities. And I think we found someone who's going to be able to do that in folds. So
yeah, no pressure, Brandi.
Not at all.
John, to your point, I mean, COVID, it started during the pandemic, and it was always part of our mission was we wanted to expand the social safety net in our communities. Whether it's from holiday giving, where you don't have to be a member to get on the list, grandparents raising again. We really wanted to go beyond the walls, and this is kind of that next step in really aligning those missions. And this is where Brandi comes in. So Brandi, let's start actually even before that. What were you doing before you came here? How'd you get to the Boys and Girls Clubs? Tell us a little bit about your background and your education and your career.
Sure. Before this, I was working at a nonprofit in Boston called Mission Safe.
Great nonprofit, actually.
Yes, we love Mission Safe. I was a program manager there, oversaw 2 of their programs, the high school and the middle school program. I had been there for 4 years. I worked almost my entire career in Boston. I did work for Brookline Housing Authority for a little bit, but mostly Boston. I'm originally from Dorchester, so I was working in my community, and I happened to come across this opportunity. And one thing that I really loved about it was, yes, you guys really sold it, made it much more attractive. Yeah. But what really attracted me to it was the ability to dream big. And that's something that can be hard at times, whether that's financial constraints or just role constraints. And I felt ready to move on to something a little different from what I had been doing before, but still very much in the same wheelhouse of how do we serve our communities effectively and get them the services and connections that they need. So I'm really excited to take this on.
No, absolutely. And I think it's so wonderful to have somebody with your background, because one of the things, John and I and all the staff talk about is sometimes in the suburbs, you see this even with the Wakefield Food Pantry, Maureen Miller, the executive director, is that there is a shame about getting services. There is a stigma. You don't want to be seen as the poor person, right? And to be able to say we can handle it in an incredibly well-placed, well-meaning way, very discreet way, and to have somebody who has a background in knowing how to connect those services like you is really going to be an asset, not just to the clubs, but to the communities we serve. And to that end, I know this is just one focus of it, but I would say it's a major focus of it, is our new, well, I shouldn't say new. It's an expansion of our mental health programming, which you probably have seen the campaign kick off if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and are on our email list on Here and Now. And our Here and Now campaign. And John, this is really your brainchild. I want to give you all the credit. I know I get a lot of the credit.
We want you getting all the credit.
Yeah, and Adam always gets the credit. But John, this was really, you spearheaded it. You led it. Can you tell us about the Here and Now campaign and really how Brandi's role in it and how it's going to affect, Wakefield and the surrounding towns?
Yeah, I think playing into what we talked about originally with the amount of opportunities we have to make an impact on the community outside of our club walls, when you couple that with the data that we're seeing coming from families and children in our communities, statewide, nationwide, coming out of the pandemic, there are some pretty jarring statistics that show a need for more services and more types of programs that can positively benefit the mental health and well-being of children and families. Anthony, I know a statistic that you bring up often is one of the more unfortunate ones we'll hear is about, the number of children that have contemplated self-harm. Like, those are real things. And our Boys and Girls Club does so many wonderful, great programs and wonderful art projects and athletics programs and developing programs for children with special needs. But the crux of the work is to make sure that our kids stay safe, healthy, and are able to be the best version of themselves every day. So with that, we said we have a lot of different opportunities. Let's put it all together into one initiative. And that's where the Here and Now mental health initiative came from. We did just kick off, which is really exciting. A couple of initiatives right away. Obviously, Brandi's here now, which is great. Within the next month, we will also have a full-time licensed clinician joining our Boys and Girls Clubs.
That's incredible.
It's really great. You don't see that in after-school programming very often, so there isn't really a framework that we're working off of, but we're lucky enough to be partnered with Elliott Community Health Services to bring someone in that we really think is going to be impactful. Pilot program is going to start with our teen centers for the remainder of this school year, and we hope to expand it as we continue to grow as an organization. We're looking at how we can positively impact our staff teams. We've developed what we call mental wellness mornings, which is really cool. Our staff teams are able once a month to have a meeting on their schedule in which they solely do something positive for their own mental health. So some people have gone to museums, some people have caught up on reading and books, some people have gone for walks. I've caught up on some trashy reality TV shows, but anything that can positively impact their mental health and well-being. And then for our communities, we're looking at how we can provide more classes and opportunities for folks to get out and not have any financial restraint on things that could positively impact their mental health. Free community yoga is a little bit of a spoiler, something that could be coming in the springtime, so stay tuned on that. So we're in phase one right now. We anticipate this being an everlasting initiative, but we've kind of blocked off 18 to 24 months to really continue to try to make a positive impact in this area for our communities, because it's going to be difficult and challenging, but it's work so very worth doing.
Well, no, and it's a good point, and I think especially being in this role for a few years now, you're used to seeing data, right? And you see data, and you don't get jarred a lot.
No.
But when we saw the data on LGBTQ youth, I think, and forgive me, I can't remember if it was Stoneham or Wakefield, but the numbers were very similar. But it was like 69% of them had contemplated suicide, and you were just sitting there like, "Oh my God, you have to do something." Mm-hmm. And I'll defer to Brandi here. As you come in and you look at all the different ways. If you don't mind me asking, so how do you look at data and figure out how to create programming that makes a positive impact? Because, we're looking at all this data and it comes in, and then we kind of refer to the program staff, to John and yourself and other people, and say, all right, with this data, how do we work to make sure we are getting to those kids?
I think that data is very, very important because it can point us in the right direction for what we might be missing or areas that could use our assistance. But I think also what's really important is the relationships that we have with the kids and with their families and with the community at large. And I think that also drives a lot of what we can do and what we can offer. You wouldn't ever want to do something and it's like, well, no one needed this. No one asked for this. We want to make sure that we're giving things that the community really needs. And it's important that we're listening to our families as well. So I think those two things combined are a great barometer of what exactly is needed and where we can plug holes.
Well, no, and you said it best on the relationship front, because so many times, and we even see this, right, when we go to our donor events or we pitch it, or we're even here, right, we talk about the programs. We were even talking with Ryan recently. Not sure if you know Ryan Boyd, executive director of WCAT. We share the same birthday, by the way, same year and everything.
He's a little bit older, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's older. He's a little bit older by a few hours. You can tell if you see him. Is that basically like we were talking about podcasting, right? And we're talking about these programs. But the point of the program is not necessarily the program itself. The point of the program is to build those relationships, because it's those relationships that drives the outcomes, right? We do music so that our music teacher can connect with the child. I mean, we just heard a great story from our Wakefield club director about how a kid with a very, very difficult upbringing literally has made a 360 because he plays music with our music people every single day at the clubs. And vice versa. And Brandi, I guess with that in mind, if you don't mind me asking, how do you build those relationships? How are you going to try, now that you're in this role, to create more and more of those relationships?
I think for me, the main thing is just making sure that I have a presence in the clubhouses, with our staff and in the community as well. I'm new to Wakefield, so I'm really excited to get out here in the community and meet everyone and see exactly what you guys need and what we could do to serve you. They said I am from Boston, but it's been great so far. I'm just really excited to get started and really build those relationships. Being on the ground is what's really important, at least for me.
Well, because that's where you meet them. And
Yeah.
that is, and I can't stress enough that that's where we make the difference, is on the ground. It's not as cool as it is to see John. I'll pick on, John, he's our esports guy, John Codere. Not you, John, the other John. We have a lot of Johns.
I'm definitely not our esports guy.
But when you see the relationship he builds using esports or 3D printing, and then being able to extrapolate from there, and then whatnot. But I do want to go on beyond the walls. I want to talk a little bit about all the other programming. So, John, when you envisioned Brandi's position, you envisioned her coming. That sounds like really melodramatic. Envisioned her coming to Wakefield and Stoneham and Melrose and Saugus and all the communities we serve in Greater Boston or north of Boston. What were some of the major programming aspects you really wanted to see us strengthen and really wanted to see us take on?
Yeah, I think even just the first few weeks that Brandi's been here, I think it's expanded even more so than I thought. The Here and Now Mental Health Initiative obviously is a big one for us. Brandi's going to have the opportunity to meet people in the community as we offer free youth mental health first aid classes. We're going to give those to any adult that wants to be able to have a better understanding of how they can positively impact youth. We look at workforce development opportunities for our teens and for our young adults. There's a need for good quality job training education and career exploration. I think that Brandi has a background in that. She's run successful programs that have helped place people in their lifelong careers, and I think that our club has a unique opportunity as one of the leading employers of teens and young people in the region to be able to expand on those programs and make them more holistic.
Now, I just want to jump in, because I think that's very cool. Brandi, can you talk about what you did in doing that, or whatever John just said? Can you expand on that? That's very cool.
Absolutely. So for Mission Safe, one of the programs that I ran was the Youth Leadership Service Corps stipend-based program that would lead into an hourly paid position. We started with 14-year-olds, and we would go up to, we had youth that were 18 or 19 that continued to come back to our program. But the main focus was building leadership skills, community service, community awareness, but also the job preparation. So one thing that I'm really big on is college may not necessarily be for everyone. I enjoyed college, but it's not for everyone. So we wanted to make sure that everyone could see the different types of paths that were available to them so that they could make a living doing something that they're passionate about. So we exposed them to colleges, we exposed them to different trades, and made sure that we had connections to place them anywhere that they wanted to go. So I'm really proud of that and having that background. So I'm really passionate about workforce development as well. So I believe like having a career that you are passionate about is a big part of your mental wellness. It could very much wear down on you when you have a job that you hate, or you're just there for a check or barely surviving. In order to thrive, you have to be in a career that you're passionate about. And I'm very lucky to have done that for myself. So I want to make sure that other people have that opportunity as well.
No, you're absolutely right. And it kind of goes back to we have a base of something like that. And it's exciting to see how it's going to grow, Brandi, under your leadership and John's leadership, because we do have like this very small, I don't want to say small. It's not small because it has quite a few teams, but we just started this street team first jobs program where we get the kids in the door. We teach them how to do an interview, how to build a resume. And then we've tried to expose them to different trades. And Brandi, I think the ability to expand that, and especially as we're growing into more and more communities, is going to be an amazing feature, because I don't care if you're from Boston, if you're from Lexington, if you're from Wakefield or Stoneham, that first job and that level of just, I don't care what you do, right? The ability to show up on time, the ability to care, right? And we say this even with our staff, right? We can hire whoever you want. You can get the most talented person in the world, but you can't teach them to care.
Yep.
And teaching those kids to care about their first job. And even the other components about that, we've been lucky enough to be funded for financial literacy and have financial literacy program tie right into that, whether it's the Savings Bank and the Donald E. Guerin Foundation that have just been so wonderful to make that happen. So other than workforce development, I know I picked on that one because it's such a wonderful stuff. What other programs outside the norm do you think we'll be seeing from Brandi and from the Boys and Girls Clubs?
Yeah, I think that, Anthony, you've said it before. The amount of outreach that we had to do was very little for how many folks we had impacted by our holiday assistance programs this year. Our run right out of here in Wakefield, our Santa Sleigh event, which is wildly popular in town, is also a very impactful one for families both in Wakefield and in the region. We had our biggest year last year at 100 kids in 2021 served with full holidays worth of gifts. This year, 200 in 2022. It doubled in 1 year. We were still able to serve everyone, which was great. But the amount of folks that also needed nutritional assistance during that time tripled in 1 year, of folks that didn't have the means to be able to put a full holiday meal together for their families. We also have nutritional assistance programs that we started last summer in Melrose, and I could see those programmings expanded rapidly over the next year or two. One of Brandi's big summer projects is going to be nutritional assistance during the summertime. When kids are out of school, the folks that need nutritional assistance go without the free breakfast and lunch that those schools provide. And we want our club to have those families' backs. So we'll be seeing a big expansion of those programmings in the community.
Well, and let me ask John, you, the both of you, Brandi as well, how do you think we get beyond? Because on the food program, right? I think it's such an important issue, and it's so crucial. But we do have a lot of families who are like, "Hey, don't tell anybody that I need the help." We have to either discreetly get it to them, whether, we do it in a variety of different ways that I obviously am not going to disclose here. But, because you don't know who needs help. And I'll give you one quick aside and then I'll stop talking and turn over for now, I'll talk again, don't worry. But, I remember when we were doing the holiday giving and the food assistance, I got a call from somebody who was at our gala, who had donated to the drive in the past and had been a normal donor. Called and said, "Hey, Anthony, calling about the holiday list." And, I immediately think he's calling to donate again. And he comes out and goes, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, man. I gotta get on the list for help." And I felt that broke my heart, and I felt like such a jerk. But he put it on. But Brandi, with your experience and really in the suburbs, How do you try, and I know there's no right answer, but how do you think we try to get past that stigma and, make sure these programs are open to everyone, not just those who need it, but know that people who need the help should come and just get a hand from us, 'cause that's why we're here.
I think obviously the most important thing is making sure that people know what we're doing. So
true.
making sure that we're spreading that information is first and foremost the most important thing, so that they know that it's there. I'm someone that grew up poor, so I totally understand that stigma of having a family that needs assistance, that's going through a hard time. I grew up in public housing, so it's something that I already completely understand the shame and the stigma attached to it. But one thing that I hope we're able to get across is that we're not here to judge. We're here to help you. Everyone has times in their lives where they need assistance. And if that means that I have to load my car up with turkeys and discreetly roll them onto people's porches, I will do that, because I've done that before. It's not a big deal if you don't want to come in. I'd rather you get the service. And if I have to bring it to your door, I will.
Yeah. Well said. And I do remember in our first few years, God, this was very early on when we first started doing the holiday giving. We had a family that wanted us to bring the gifts to their house. And I remember I had to go through the back door of the basement because they had, like, the kid was still up, and obviously, and I'm like, I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to get somebody's going to come and think I'm breaking into their house. Like, I have this big trash bag over my shoulder. I'm like trying to find their back, like walking creepily in their backyard.
Wakefield Santa Claus.
Yeah. That's what they call them. No. But Brandi, you're absolutely right. So much of it is building those relationships to know that, like, listen, we'll get it to you. But just A, let's make sure the services are known. And B, let's let people know that we're willing to work with them to get it to them. I know we're about 7 minutes left. John and then Brandi, do you guys have any final comments you want to make? Or
Yeah, I think that, we feel, or we felt confident in being able to bring someone like Brandi in to serve in this type of newer role for our organization because of the support that we get from the Wakefield community. Time and time again, the folks in Wakefield come through for our club kids and our club families. And we want to be able to come through for any family in Wakefield that needs us. And as Brandi talked about, we're going to make sure that these programs are accessible. We're going to make sure that if you need help, it's confidential. You don't ever have to worry about folks finding out if you need a little bit of assistance. And we are excited to be able to further our programming efforts and our ability to make a positive impact in the Wakefield community, in the Stoneham community, Melrose, Saugus, all the great area towns that you named, Anthony. And I think we're excited to just get started and really continue the great work that we've tried to do.
Well, and John, you're right. I think what was exciting, and I still think back to when we were first starting here, but I forget who made the comment, but it was like, we looked at the board and it was, we had 41, and I'm not joking, like 41 different initiatives going on. And we're like, we need to bring somebody in because they're just all over the place, and not in a bad way, but it was good. And you talk about success breeds success, right? So as we're celebrating our 50th year, and as people will find out, and as we're growing, but to your point, we say the Boys and Girls Clubs of Stoneham and Wakefield, and obviously we're at Wakefield Public Access right now, Wakefield Community Access Television. But the fact is, these are services that are being offered in Stoneham, obviously, as well. But now we have, we're expanding the nutrition program and quite a few programs in Melrose. We're expanding workforce development into Saugus. We have meetings with the government officials in Malden. The fact of the matter is, it's becoming to the point where we can't just, we're the Boys and Girls Clubs of Stoneham and Wakefield, but we're really becoming a regional brand. So with that said, so Brandi, no pressure. I know you've only been here for 2 weeks, but with about 4 minutes and a half, can you tell us your favorite? Do you want to? Do you have any final comments or thoughts?
Sure. I'm just really excited to be in this position. You guys have a fantastic organization. You definitely made it sound very, very attractive. I knew I wanted the job at the first interview. Well, I knew I wanted the job when I read the posting. I'll be honest. I said, this is my job. I just put it into the universe. Like, this is going to happen for me. But I'm really excited to be here and to get to know the community better. One thing I really have been enjoying so far is how tight-knit everyone is here. It seems very much like people know each other, people support each other, and I really enjoy that a lot. So I'm really excited to get started and get these initiatives up and running, and yeah, happy to be here.
Noel and Brandi, we're happy to have you, and as always, we're eternally grateful to Wakefield Community Access Television. And
Absolutely.
I will tell you this, and I've gone to bat for them a few times. We work with a lot of different communities, and they're all, listen, they all have wonderful public access stations, but I've never seen an organization do as much as Wakefield Community Access Television has done for not just us, but other nonprofits. I mean, you want to talk about an organization that is willing to spread the message for a variety of nonprofits, and not just us, it's them. And they're always willing to get involved. Literally, we walked in, and the first thing Ryan Boyd mentioned, the executive director, who shares a birthday with me, but is older, talked about, hey, how can we create podcasting for kids? And how can we have kids learn about digital literacy and, everything from how to better understand media to potential careers. That was his first thought. We have Barbara, who is just, I would call an unsung heroine, even though everybody sings her praises. So maybe not unsung anymore, but she's involved in Wakefield Rotary and a number of other groups. So it's an incredible organization, and another one in Wakefield that you'll get to know.
Yeah, we like to believe that our clubs are everywhere. WCAT is actually everywhere.
No, it's true. It's true. All right, well, with that said, I want to thank everybody who watched. Again, I want to thank WCAT. I want to thank all-star volunteer Brian McCoubry, who videotapes all of these. He's so happy I mentioned him right now. If you could see him behind the camera, ear to ear. Ryan doesn't give him the praise he deserves, but I do. So I want to thank everybody, and thank you, Brandi, John. Thank you, and we'll be around town.
Great.
And if you want to learn more, bgcwakefield.org.
Absolutely.
So bgcwakefield.com or .org, both of them work, and you can learn more about all these initiatives and all of Brandi's work.
And shameless plug, though everything outside is frozen right now, Wakefield Community Boating will be back before we know it.
That is true.
So
we'll
we're
be back.
excited
It'll
to
be
get
a lot
on the
of fun.
lake.
So, all right, well, thank you, everybody, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.